After weeks of protests by Cuban exile groups in Miami, the report on alleged abuse of Cuban detainees at the detention center has finally been completed. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keisha Adderley.
And I'm Candino Knowles. Well, the Ministry of National Security announced today that the prosecution of those Defense Force officers implicated in all of this is imminent. And while the matter is not being treated as a criminal one, National Security Minister Dr. Bernard Nottage explains that the proceedings will be conducted in accordance with the rules prescribed under the Defense Act and regulations, which basically amounts to a trial before the magistrate's court.
The persons who have been implicated in any way will have the opportunity to have their case heard by the Defense Force process.
And despite questions about the integrity of this entire process, the National Security Minister promised full transparency. And to ensure this, Dr. Nottage says 3 independent observers, who he did not name today, will attend the hearings once they begin.
We will refrain from making any comments concerning the proceedings while they are under consideration. The hearings will be held in camera, but a full report of the proceedings will be issued at their conclusion. This is to avoid publication of matters which may compromise national security.
Since the Cuban story broke, officials report that there has been an increase in the number of Cuban migrants illegally entering the Bahamas. It's something Dr. Nottage believes is a part of a bigger strategy for Cubans seeking to get out of that country.
When it was reported that Panama had agreed to take some of the asylum seekers and we did not respond, it was because while this was in the newspapers, there had been no approach by the government of Panama to the Bahamas. And one of the reasons why we were careful about that was that we didn't want it to appear to persons who are seeking refugee status that the Bahamas would be open country now, they could come and if they wait long enough, we'll get them to a third country.
And while he thanked Bahamians traveling to Miami for exercising restraint during this time, Dr. Nottage sent this message to the Cuban community in Florida, particularly Cuban merchants.
It would behoove them to be more considerate, to be more understanding of the plight with which we are confronted on a regular basis, having to expend funds either housing them or feeding them, etc. That doesn't give us any excuse to do anything that is illegal or harmful to the detainees, because we understand their issues too. But it's time to be fair.
No word on exactly when the hearings will begin, but in the meantime, an inquiry is being launched into the administration and management of the country's military arm, which is set to begin within the next 10 days.